And here we are. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Good night, good evening, good morning if you're somewhere else in the world. I don't know. Welcome to the Saturday Spiritualist. As you know, this is the show I do every Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is courtesy of This Uncanny Earth, the primary show and the primary radio network that we do. The Uncanny Media Network runs quite a bit of different content, so this is just a piece of that larger puzzle. If you've been watching for a little while already, then you've seen me talk about some very specific things. I've talked about Wicca, I've talked about um, Thelema and Aleister Crowley, and I've talked about the Flying Spaghetti Monster, which was last week, which was less a spirituality and more, a philosophical, fun and games kind of thing, but still applicable. Um, at some point in the very near future, I'm going to start getting into the real deep, earthy, left hand path kind of stuff. Um, but before I get into that, I'm going to do a short series within a series about practical applications. That's things that you can do that are part of the whole spirituality framework, such as stoneworking, candles, incense, smudging, all these different various things that are kind of in and out of the spiritual bubble, bordering on possible paranormal stuff, but mostly just things that spiritual people tend to do, ritual stuff, that kind of thing. The first part that I'm going to get into, and tonight's going to be just an introduction to the concept, and that's going to be divination techniques. Now, divination is kind of a loaded phrase as far as it goes, because people assume that if you're not really a part of the whole deal, they assume that if you're talking about divination, you're talking about predicting the future, um, and that's not really true. Because if you're in the know and you have a bit of a scientific background, or even if you don't and you just know a thing or two about how these kind of things work, you can't really predict the future because the future is always changing. The future is going to be different from one day to the next depending on what we do with our time every day. It's not set, and it can't really be changed because it changes itself regularly. Okay. And some people would say that there is no such thing as past and future, and the only thing we're living in is an enhanced sense of now all the time, which is an interesting philosophical concept that I will also be addressing later on within the spiritualist framework. But as far as what I would consider and what some other prominent spiritual people would say about divination, it's not about predicting the future. It's about assisting you in making decisions that can affect the future. And that's not on the level of like sci-fi stuff where if you do one thing it'll drastically change events and whatnot. This is more a way to kind of guide your life along a particular track and try to keep you on that track that you've chosen to make things a bit more stable for yourself, or a little bit more predictable, or just it's to make things easier in the long run for you. And I've delved a little bit in certain parts of it, which I'll mention as I get to each topic. Um, but I don't often do divination for other people very much. I have a few times, either on request or just because the mood came up and it seemed like a good time to do it. Uh, I know in at least one instance, one of my tarot readings actually pretty much completely changed the lives of at least one or two people, and probably several more in that particular orbit and bubble. I'm not going to name any names or name any situations because that's people's privacy. But I know that it was an unintended effect of what I was doing. I hadn't had any thoughts about it when I did the reading, and things became an entirely different situation that has developed from then on. But again, like no details because privacy. Okay. So what what is there to divination? What's all involved? Um, a lot of it is details and correspondences. Correspondences meaning as above, so below, that kind of thing. And when you're trying to do divination, there's two ways you can do it. You can do it for yourself, which you have to be really careful of because you have an inherent bias, or you can do it for other people, in which case you also have to be very careful because often people will want or expect a certain outcome. And we all know plenty of like Long Island Medium and all these other psychic claiming people who say that they can get you on the path to love and to wealth and to improvement in your life and that kind of thing. And maybe they can, but I tend to think most of the time they do that just to get paid. I don't do divination for people for money. And I also don't look down on people who do it for money as long as they're not, making mega millions constantly giving people good news. Because it's not always going to be good news. A good divination read is going to be up in the air. You can't lay out a set of cards, look at them, look at a person, and honestly believe every single person that comes through is always going to have good news. Um, and you can't even be able to say that when you do tell them good news that they'll act on it appropriately and it will become good news because they might think, oh yeah, everything's great, and then they'll make some decision that goes against what the reading was, and things will go bad for them, and then you look badly. So my disclaimer is always, don't take what I tell you as a fast and hard, this is what you should do. Take it as this is a possible future. This is a possible thing that could happen. Here's the advice. Here's what I'm hearing, or here's what I'm seeing. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. One of the most popular, of course, is the tarot cards. I have a set right here. This is the Aleister Crowley Thoth Tarot deck. This comes with the cards I got came with a copy of his book, The Book of Thoth, which detailed all of his ideas about tarot and the symbolism and all of the different things involved. Because there is a lot of iconography with these cards. Like for example, we're gonna take one of these and we're just gonna take a peek at it. This is one of the trump cards, unrelated to any former or past presidents. Okay, this is the Magus. All right. And you can see that there's a lot going on in this picture. He's standing there. He's got a smile on his face. He's got wings on his feet. There's all these magical symbols and cups and things. And there's like a creature made of arms and hands flying behind him. And each of these things means something to people who are really deep in the occult background. Now, I'm not super keen on what every single bit of these means. My memory comes and goes with that kind of stuff, and so I'm by no means an expert. Tarot is not my primary um, my primary deal, but I do like to do it, and it has told me some interesting things in the past. And like I said, it has changed people's lives at least once in one of my readings for people. And I don't want to take credit for that as if like I'm some fantastic person who caused that to happen. I'm just saying that by chance it did cause stuff. And there's different ways to arrange the cards and to look at the interpretations and things like that. Now, I'm not going to get into that today. I'm going to get into that probably in 2 weeks. And I say 2 weeks because I know next week I already have decided what I'm going to be presenting, and it's a pretty lengthy, pretty in-depth thing, and it's something I'm very passionate about, which I'll mention in a minute. Other things, and I was looking them up. There is, let me go back and pull up my articles here. Another form of divination is water gazing. And I pulled up this article from northernlightswicca.com. So credit where credit is due. They in turn cite their sources as a book, Divination for Beginners by Scott Cunningham, 2008. That was a book that you can apparently get. So let's take a look. And it's also called, water gazing is also called hydromancy. A lot of times you'll hear pyromancy or technomancy or whatever mancy. That's the Greek, um, a Greek term, um, specific to each form of divination. All right. The Greek version is called psychomancy. I think I said that right. It's got like an extra C in there, so I think I'm going to say psychomancy. And there's a few different ways you can do it. You can do the classic water gazing method. You use a blue ceramic bowl and you use a small darkened room with a small light source behind you. So like the kind of shadows bounce around. And you're supposed to ask a question and look into the water. And when they say look into the water, it's not really looking at the water. You're supposed to kind of look through the water and kind of look deep through it. And after a while, you may see the water start to cloud, and eventually you'll see symbols in the water, and you have to make sure you record the symbols that you see and stop divining when you don't see any more symbols. And all of those symbols are supposed to mean things. They could be pictures of animals or objects from nature or letters and numbers. Now, I haven't tried this before, so I can't vouch for it. I don't know how accurate it is. I know people do it. I know it's pretty common. Um, very similar to crystal balls. A crystal ball, we've all seen movies or TV shows where it's like, oh, look into my crystal ball and I will tell you your future, and it's usually some scam. But an actual crystal ball isn't just a big ball that's clear, this glass. It's a specific material, a specific kind of stone that you can look into. And again, you're supposed to kind of look through it. And this is more one of those mental techniques. It's what I told you guys about in the beginning of the Spiritualist series, the very first episode. A lot of the ritual things are less trying to magically make things happen and more trying to convince your brain that things are happening, because then that will work your willpower on whatever's happening. And then that in turn may cause an effect to happen in the universe around you, because willpower is a strong force. So, crystal ball, you're supposed to look in and allow your imagination kind of to just to go. And what that means is you're not supposed to just come up with something and just be like, oh, well, I see you living in a house with 12 children and blah, 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 give me $50. It's, you look in and you try to latch on to whatever free floating thoughts start just coming to you naturally, whatever the brain starts kind of bumbling about with, and see if there's any pattern to that and see if you can kind of construct something from that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. You never know. But it's interesting. People also do this with candles. That's pyromancy, where you look into a flame, either a small candle flame or sometimes a larger flame like a brazier or something like that, and look at the shapes and the patterns as the fire goes up. Another one, and this is pretty popular also, this is tasseography, which is also known as tasseomancy. Um, this is tea leaves. And I've never done the tea leaf thing. I think I tried to once, but I don't remember if anything came of it. I don't know if I was trying it serious or if I just was trying to be, if I was just being funny. It was a long time ago if I did it. I don't think I did, but I almost feel like maybe I have a memory of it somewhere lodged in my brain. But this is for tea leaves. A lot of people read tea leaves. And by reading, what they mean is they take, when you make tea, a lot of us are familiar with the tea bags and things like that. We put the tea bag in, we steep it. After a while, we toss the tea bag out, right? The other, if you're into tea, like if you're really big into drinking tea, you might get loose leaf tea, in which case you put it in like a little metal ball or some other kind of contraption that has holes in it, like a sieve, and you let it sit in your tea like a tea bag, but you fill it with as much of tea leaves and stuff as you want, so you can get the strength as much as you want. In order to do tea leaf reading, you just put the tea right into the cup. You put the tea into the cup, put the boiling water on it, and you let it sit and steep, and you don't filter it out, which means as you drink it, you're going to have to be careful because there's tea chunks, I guess, coming through. But you drink the tea until there's the bare minimum of moisture down there with the leaves and stuff, and then you look at them and you see if the the leaves that have been left behind, the leavings have arranged themselves in any sort of symbols, like letters or animal shapes or something. It's kind of like looking at clouds and seeing what you see in a cloud as a kid. Like you look up and say, "Oh, that one looks like an elephant. Oh, that one looks like a banana. Oh, that one looks like Bill Clinton." You know, you do the same thing with the tea leaves, and supposedly all of those things stand for things. Some of the symbolism goes like this. This is just a short primer. You might see a snake, which means falsehood, a spade, like a small shovel, good fortune, a mountain, some kind of journey, or a house, which means change or success. So, and there's different ways to do that too. Apparently, let me see if I can find it here. Apparently, in Turkey, but it's not just confined to Turkey. It's also Arabic, Persian, Greek, and Serbian. Interesting. Uh, they do coffee reading, which you use Arabic or Turkish coffee because it produces a thick sediment. And you drink all the coffee, and then you see the sediments left behind. And you can either look at it as is, or the common method is they take the saucer, put it over the cup, turn upside down to dump all that stuff out, and then you see what it's become. And then you read the symbols in there. So that was interesting. I didn't know about coffee reading. I knew about tea reading, but I didn't know about coffee reading. Other methods, there's you can roll dice. You can roll dice, believe it or not, and a lot of times they use symbols on the dice rather than the dots, like the 1, 2, 3, whatever that we use here. A lot of times they'll have symbols like a dog or a wolf or a boar and things like that. Classical astrological zodiac kind of spiritual symbols, and whatever the combination of those can tell you different things. That's based off of another form of divination called casting bones, which is I think is still practiced as part of voodoo these days, the voodoo tradition. And you throw um, a set of chicken bones or whatever, and you see the shapes that they land in and try to interpret from there. Um, there's also casting runes, which the Vikings had, and that's where similar to casting dice, but all you had a set of stones that all had runes carved into them, and you would toss them out, and you would see what you would get from there. All the ones that were like face up or something like that would be things that you would interpret, and all the ones face down you wouldn't. Um, Dominoes, people do that with dominoes, similar to the dice. They set up dominoes. Um, what are some other things? Because I know there's more, but that's the basics. I mean, and again, all of these things aren't meant to tell you this is a for sure event that's going to happen in your future. It's more, this is these are events or places or people that may influence you in making a decision that may influence your future. And that's really what it's all about. It's about nudging and guiding and kind of pushing you towards better decision making. If you rely too much on it, it can lead you into unexpected places, and you can be kind of disillusioned, and you can be grouchy. It's like people reading their horoscopes every day in the newspaper. And there's a lot of funny things that people say about horoscopes, like Weird Al Yankovic has the song "Your Horoscope for Today," and everything was pretty terrible, and it's all silly. And cartoon shows have all talked about people getting bad horoscopes and being like, "Oh no, this is awful." And the horoscopes are based on astrology, and astrology is a lot more complicated than what you usually get in horoscopes. And there's a lot more involved to it. The modern horoscope that they put in the newspapers and things like that are usually fluff that somebody has come up with on basically bare bones, what the symbology may mean. Um, Real hardcore astrology can get pretty in depth, but it's still just one piece of advice rather than, again, this is exactly what the future is going to be. Now, my favorite, which I'm going to get into in the next series, well, not the next series, the next episode, I'm going to go in depth and show you the entire system top to bottom, is numerology. And numerology is something that I started getting into when I was a young man. I was in my early 20s and I got super into it. Like, and I still am. I love it. It's great. It can tell you a lot about people. And I have never had a person tell me after I performed a numerological reading that it was way off base, that it made no sense, that it was like nothing was true and whatnot. Everybody usually comes back and says, that's really interesting because I didn't tell you about this, and I this is part of my personality, and I didn't tell you about this, and this is part of my personality, and these kind of things. And so, and that brings it down to numbers and mathematics, and that kind of distills the whole universe into equations and things like that, which is funny because I don't have a good head for mathematics. I can do adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplication. I can balance a checkbook if I needed to. I can do my taxes. I can buy things at the store and that kind of stuff. But I can't get into. I was terrible at algebra. I can't do trigonometry. I can't do anything like that. That's far beyond me. I just don't have the mind for it. And believe me, I tried. I tried in school very much, and I just could not get it. And I still can't get it today. It's just some people are not. No matter how smart a person you can be, you can't be smart in every single thing in life. Some people are very math smart, some people are not, and I'm not. And I'm not ashamed to admit that either. But numerology is super super interesting. I've done my own readings. It's based off of your name, nicknames, your birth date, um, the current date, um, all these little variables that go into it, and it can reveal a lot. It can reveal a lot, and I'm super impressed, and I've stuck by it for a number of years. So that's what the next full episode is going to be all numerology, top to bottom. I'm going to do some readings, and I'm inviting anybody who's been watching this. If you would like me to do a reading for you, I can do so, and I can um, I can either reveal it here on live during the episode, what I come up with for you, or I can do it in private. It's not a big deal. I can send it through Messenger. Just get in touch with me via the Uncanny Earth email account, thisuncanny@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that if I don't get a chance to check it, I'll make sure Rob checks it and passes it on to me. Or put a comment on this video in the This Uncanny Earth official Facebook group or on YouTube, This Uncanny Earth. Okay. Or if you're watching this via my private Facebook, and you're a friend of mine there, you can just send me a message because that's fine. But numerology, I'm very passionate about. I'm very interested in. I really think it can tell you a lot about yourself, and I think it can tell you a lot about your life, and that sort of thing. And I stand by it. It's not going to be right every single time, but more often than not, it's pretty revealing. So I am going to do a show about numerology. I said that. That's next week. I'm going to be doing a show about tarot 2 weeks in 2 weeks, which is what I mentioned early on. So you've got numerology, then tarot card reading, then who knows? I may get into some other things. I'm not gonna get too much into the the hydromancy or the pyromancy or things because I don't want to darken the room and get all atmospheric about it. I may do the tea leaf. I may do the tea reading because I've never done that before. Like I said, I feel like I have some memory of it of being around it before, but I don't think I've actually ever done it. But I'm gonna do that. I think that'll be fun, and I'll brew some tea up a couple of cups, and we'll see how that goes. Um, I have a sneeze. I feel a sneeze coming. Let's see if I can get through this without it. There's also palm reading, where you read the palms, the lines on the palm. I had borrowed a book from a very good friend of mine um, some time ago, and it told me about palms, and that was interesting too. I mean, I've kind of paid some attention to that, but not a huge amount. I'm on the fence about that, but it is interesting. Um, just like there's also ways like you can tell by the height of the fingers and how they're arranged, and the same thing with the feet, with the toes. Like if your toes are in a certain line, or if they have a shape to them, or something like that. Um, I am not going to turn this into a foot fetish show. Okay, I'm not going to like take off my sock and start showing you my feet for this. Um, this cat is clawing my belly now. I wonder if there's cat divination, like if you can do divination with cats. But yeah, so I've got a lot of exciting things coming. We're going to do a lot of practical applications. There's going to be short, like I said, it's a series within a series. It's going to be part of the whole thing, practical applications. And after all that is said and done, after several weeks of testing out these various divination methods, we're going to hit the big topic that I know the most about, but is also there's a lot of paradoxes and there's a lot of like back and forth and there's a lot of misinformation, and some of it is kind of on purpose and some of it isn't. Um, some of it was spread specifically to turn people away who they didn't think were desirable and things like that. So we're going to be talking about left hand path philosophy, and that'll entail getting into things like the Church of Satan, the Temple of Set, um, the Golden Dawn, and some of those kind of things. And so some people might not be into all that. I'm not going to get into. I am not going to get into actual like demon worship stuff. I'm not going to get into animal sacrifice and that kind of thing. That's not my game. That's not something that I do personally. That's not something I'm interested in. So we're not going to get into that. Um, oh yeah, yeah. Welcome, Josh Henderson in the chat room. He's a good band friend of mine. Jaden, another friend of ours, is really into this kind of stuff. He and I had a lot of talks about this kind of thing, way back when we were in bands together, and we actually started like a whole philosophical framework for a little while. Um, but I think we kind of went different ways with it. I don't get out there to talk with these guys often enough. I'm always kind of disconnected from everybody. But but yeah, for you guys who are interested in like in the philosophical Satanism and Temple of Set stuff, Temple of Set, I'm a big fan of. I like their philosophy on a lot of different areas. I've considered becoming a member more than once, but I feel like there's still some layer of like requirements that they want you to do that I'm kind of like, I'm too independent. I'm too individual for that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's like Groucho Marx used to say, want to be a member of any club that would accept me as a member. So, oh, well, yeah, there was that too. That joke. I won't put him on the spot, but you can. Um, we're not doing that on this show. That's not what's going on. It's not that kind of show. But so yeah, that's divination techniques. Next week I'll get into real in-depth numerology. Big fan. The week after that, I will be getting into tarot. We're going to do some tarot readings. And then the week after that, probably the tea leaf readings. And maybe some other things. Who knows? Maybe we'll do casting stones or something. I don't know. Before I get to the big Prince of Darkness kind of stuff. So that's going to be it for tonight. It was a short one, but it was an introductory thing, which I think was important because I always like to kind of slide into a topic before I really hit it super, super hard. And that's what we're going to be doing. So you know what's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. You can plan ahead accordingly. Business-wise, today is Saturday, so there's nothing coming up on Sunday. Monday, I'm going to have another episode of the podcast. Let's talk about this. So I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. Stay tuned. Tuesday is another Twitch Tuesday where I play some games for you. I'm actually going to be doing some streaming after this broadcast ends just for fun. I'm going to stream The Outer Worlds, which is a game that I used to play before, and I'm a big fan. So I'm going to be playing that. Thursday, we'll have another episode of This Uncanny Earth. Not Thursday. No, Thursday is something else. Thursday is my St. Patrick's Day show. And I will be here live at 10 p.m. for St. Patrick's Day drinking. And I'm going to put the link to join me here. I'm going to be putting that link in the official Facebook group, This Uncanny Earth Official. If you are not a member of that, go over and join that. That's where the link is going to be. Or if you're on my friends list and you want to join in, I will send you can send me a message via Messenger, and I will give you the link via that. And then Thursday at 10 p.m., you can be here either video and audio or just audio if you're not comfortable showing your face. I'm going to be drinking Irish car bombs. I'm going to be eating sausage and cabbage because why not? And we're just going to have a good time. It's not going to be anything real official. It's just going to be us sitting around in different places, having fun, having some drinks, having a good time for St. Patrick's Day. So that's Thursday. Then Friday, there's going to be another episode of This Uncanny Earth. So everybody's got that. Everybody got that. So keep an eye out on the This Uncanny Earth official Facebook group. Join it. Or again, if you're on my personal friends list, just send me a message and I will get you the link to be here with me on camera with StreamYard, drinking it up, St. Patrick's Day, having a good time. Okay? Got it. So that's all I have. And I will catch everybody else next week.